And welcome back to the show. Well, the pandemic has strained the small business community, particularly the minority-owned small business owners across every borough here in New York City. And many minority small businesses fear they'll be forced to close their businesses permanently if they don't receive immediate financial relief. Fortunately, with the financial support from LISC NYC, our next guest received a grant to keep her doors open. Joining us to share more details is the executive director of LISC NYC, Valerie White, and then the owner of M&M 24-hour Daycare, Millie Carbajal. And glad to have you both sharing here with us on Open.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Thank you. I guess I will start first with Valerie, and for you, Valerie, for LISC NYC, the work that you do really is trying to help these small businesses stay alive and do some great things. Share with us a little bit about, for those who don't know, how we got to this place with LISC NYC.
Well, LISC NYC, or the Local Initiative Support Corporation, has been around for about 40 years. And our goal is to ensure that we are supporting communities. Everything that we do is based on a platform of racial and economic equity and the infusion of capital into marginalized communities. For this particular grant program, we worked with about 11 different funders to raise a little more than $1 million to give grants to about 284 businesses across New York City. In the Bronx specifically, we gave almost $300,000 of grants to small businesses that were impacted negatively by the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, and so you had the opportunity to take a small business under your wings and give them a grant, and M&M 24-hour Daycare, and talk to us about how we got to that place.
Hi, thank you again for having me. Valerie, I appreciate it so much. The grant came at a time in which we were very uncertain about whether or not we were going to close our doors. We lost many of our parents. Many of our parents lost their job. So the grant came at such a great time, and it really helped us actually sustain ourselves for that period for the next couple of months while we were able to use it. And we were also able to use it to keep some of our employees on. And of course, help our parents, help many of the essential workers that had to continue to go to work. So the grant was extremely helpful.
Yeah. How'd you hear about the grant?
So I'm part of WEDCO, which is our food program, and my inspector, who normally inspects us every 3 months, she gave me a call, and she knew so many of us were closing our doors. Many providers, many daycares were closing their doors, and she called me right away. She sat with me for 2 hours and helped me fill out the application.
Wow. And Valerie, I must admit that it's got to be a good shot in the arm for both the organization and yourself to be able to step in, because as Millie said, there are a lot of people out there who don't have those kind of resources and have been forced to make the hard decision of having to close their doors. But in this case, you're able to keep somebody alive.
Yes, and what's critically important about this particular program, and Millie laid it out very, very nicely. We also raised additional funds to provide sub-grants to 16 community-based organizations located right in the neighborhood who have relationships with many of the small businesses and economic development programming. So part of that sub-grant was to provide the capital resource for those organizations, WEDCO being one of them, to actually not only notify the small businesses that they work with regularly, but provide the opportunity to sit with them and go through the application process. In addition to that, on the front end, we also continue to fund the community-based organizations, the 16 in these neighborhoods, to work with the small businesses for long-term sustainability. We believe the grant is important to keep the doors open, but there are a lot of different things that could be done in terms of changing business strategy, understanding about operating within this COVID pandemic, because it does change the way, particularly a business like a daycare, 24 hours, of course, is needed for essential workers and other folks to go back to work, but you also have to operate much differently. So we provide that funding to the community-based organizations to help the businesses, no matter what industry, understand how they need to operate going forward amid the pandemic.
Yeah. So, Millie, as you look right now, and you see yourself and you're able to navigate a little bit better, talk to us about how things are now, given the fact that you got this grant and your organization is still able to keep the doors open to do what they have to do. How are things going for you now?
So thankfully, we were, like I mentioned earlier, able to maintain ourselves because of the grant. We were able to keep most of our staff on. But we are in a community that's considered one of the poorest communities in the Bronx. So the grant was able to help us keep our doors open, help us provide these services, which we provide early services, later services for our parents that really desperately need it. And now today, parents are able to return to work because we were able to keep our door closed.
Yeah.
Open.
So,
Keep our
yeah.
doors open.
Yeah, the doors open.
But
We need the doors
yes,
open.
yes, we want them to be open.
Right.
But unfortunately, like, we're huge advocates of family engagement. But at this point, because we're still in the pandemic, we have limit our family engagement where the parents can't have open access to the classroom like they normally would. So that's kind of the only difference now that we're experiencing. But families are feeling better coming back. Children are coming back wearing their masks, as well as our staff are becoming vaccinated as well.
Yeah. Valerie, for you, talk to us about where you go from here. I mean, you're helping people really get to back on their feet and helping them through some really tough times. Where does the organization move from here?
Well, of course, again, we've been around 40 years, and in addition to economic development and small business development, we also stand our platform on affordable housing, workforce development, sustainable wealth generation in communities of color and marginalized communities, and health equity. So we continue to look at how those key factors contribute to growing in a community and making a community equitable in terms of those services. So we will continue to work with the community-based organizations, to work with the small businesses. We are raising for additional grant funding for the next cohort. We maintain relationships with our small businesses, and in fact, many of them that provide goods and services are on our supplier diversity list. So we reinvest in the small businesses to whom we give grants. But we are working on a number of other key community development initiatives that we hope will, create a more equitable access to opportunity services and to society in general for marginalized populations and for minority members of our communities.
And how are people able to tap into possibly getting a grant? I know that a lot of our viewers are saying, listen, you know what? I may need some assistance and I may be able to apply. So what do they need to do?
They can find out more about what we do and contact us at our website is LISC, LISC.org/NYC, New York City. On our website is a host of information. It includes our upcoming events. It includes our programs and initiatives. It includes the information about applying for grants and other programs, and then a host of other information, different publications that we put out that talk about economic development, and our advocacy platform, which is again based on racial and economic equity and eradicating systemic inequities.
Yeah. Well, Millie, congratulations to you. And also I want to say again, thank you to Valerie for the work that LISC is doing to help businesses be able to navigate during times like this and provide some supportive services. Great to have you both here with us here on Open.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, you want to know more information, again, visit the website lisc.org.nyc, and you can find out more information about LISC. Encourage you, don't go anywhere. We do have more Open coming up. Stay with us. We return right after this.